Hey everybody, this is Kara.
And this is Ed.
And this is your day's dumpster fire.
Hey, that worked.
We did it.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be the intro part for a while. Like, hey, it worked. Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those things where even the slightest thing working is an accomplishment.
I agree. Wholeheartedly. And I'm going to say this off the top. My dog is chewing on a toy in the background. So if anybody hears it, that's what that is.
Oh, yeah. That incessant squeaky crunching noise.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Excellent. Also, real quick, shameless plug. For those of you who have trash can fires, or if you want to recommend an episode to us, please email us at thedaysdumpsterfire@gmail.com, or you can follow and message us on Instagram at thedaysdumpsterfire.
That's
shameless
right.
plug over.
That's right. Yeah, because we've got social media presence now.
Trying. I'm a little bit behind right now, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, we've literally got a dozen followers. So
yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah. I mean, those dozens of followers are probably friends and family, but it's a start.
It's a start. We're getting there. But yeah, we'll take recommendations, questions, trash can fires. We'll read them. We'll answer.
Yeah.
Reach out.
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like the world of failing, which is what this whole podcast is about, though, the world of failing shouldn't fall on our shoulders alone. Every single human being out there is a failure at some point in time. And I know that sounds super negative, but it's true. Everybody has screwed up. Everybody has said something at the wrong time. Everybody has had a moment where they wish they could just hit rewind, delete, and start over.
Usually you only see that when you hit your mid-20s. But yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I remember hitting a lot of that when I was in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying and doing a lot of stupid things then. Then I got into junior high, and then I said a lot more and did a lot more stupid things in junior high.
Mm-hmm.
Then I got into high school, and it grew exponentially, the amount of stupid crap that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Then I hit my 20s, and there was even more stupid crap. And then in my 30s, stupid crap all the way through. Now that I'm 40, I'm adrift in stupid crap. So I think it's probably because I'm a guy that stupid crap follows me. And I fully acknowledge the fact that everything dumb that has happened in my life is 100% my responsibility.
Admitting it is the first step to recovery.
No, and I'll be 90 years old and I'm still doing stupid crap. And I think that's just part of my gender.
It's
you just embrace it.
Yeah.
Which actually kind of ties into my my trash can fire.
All right, let's hear it.
So, as you and I have been talking, and I'm really curious because I'm looking at the little sound waves on my my little scrolly bar doohickey thingy that's on my screen here. I've noticed that my voice's sound waves are way more pronounced, which I think is a good sign because that means the audience is getting more of me into their ears.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that does for ratings,
right.
But it all boils down to me and my continuous voyage of trying to maximize the audio quality. Because whenever I listen to myself, when I'm editing an episode, I listen to my own voice and I'm like, I sound like an absolute jerk. I am cocky, I am stuck up, my voice is horrendous, and I'm just trying to find everything possible to fix that. And so, yeah, it's so funny, audience, if you could see my setup versus Kara's setup, like it's going to be a day and night difference because I think,
Yeah.
Kara, you're using like a USB microphone. You just plug it straight to your computer and go.
Sure am.
And it's worked fine.
It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it picks up your dog chewing on rubbery things in the background, but for the most part, it works fine. It
works.
Yeah, it auto balances. It works fine. Meanwhile, I have this fancy dynamic microphone and a pop filter, and I have an interface here. I have an XLR cable kind of strewn all over the place, and it looks really, really cool. The issue is that I have no idea what I'm doing. And so one of the things, this was kind of my trash can fire that started yesterday, is dynamic microphones do a fantastic job of eliminating outside sounds.
So the dog chewing on a toy. Yeah.
But like I have a fan blowing in the background. I have a ceiling fan going on right now. I've got my house's AC cranked down to like, 70 degrees. And yeah, my mic won't pick any of that up. Cool. The downside to that is that you have to like dang near scream into the microphone for the interface to pick it up. The only fix for that is to crank up the gain. And when you crank up the gain, then you start getting all sorts of weird hissing and popping noises. And yeah, like I can go in post-processing and I can eliminate all that. But when I do that, like all that frequency like takes away from my voice, and then I sound like a parrot the entire time. I'm hollowy, tinny, and it sucks. So how do you get around that? Well, I bought a preamp. And a preamp connects to the back of the microphone, and then your XLR cable, your mic cable connects to the back of that. And I bought one of these doohickeys, I plugged it in, it looked really, really cool, but I couldn't get any sound. Like, the interface wasn't picking up anything. And I spent hours yesterday while I was at work. I was working from home. I was at work, and I'm just like, I got stuff failing in the background. I've got loads. I've got truck drivers. Yeah, it was a hot mess, but I'm sitting here like Googling, why isn't my preamp working and this and that. And I was actually getting ready to return this thing. I was going to go take it to the UPS store and return it. But then UPS is like, yeah, sorry, your Amazon return thing isn't working right now. Come back sometime later. So then I was forced to come home. I was forced to just like sleep on it and just forget about it. And then I woke up in the middle of the night. I woke up in the middle of the night because I'm 40. When you turn 40, you have to wake up in the middle of the night to pee.
Sure.
That's what you do.
All right.
Yep. Just get used to it.
Yeah, I'm waiting another 9 years for that moment. But we'll get there.
Yeah, so here I am just like at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, wait a second. What if it's my cable's fault? Because like an idiot, when I bought this microphone interface setup, I had a cable that was an XLR that plugged in the back. But then when I plugged in an interface, it was a 1/4 inch headphone jack. Because my previous interface was like super janky, and that's the only way that it would work. Well, here's how it works. This is what I didn't understand. In order for a preamp to work, your interface has to send 48 volts of electricity through the cable and into the preamp. And so then when I talk into the microphone, like it produces this really, really weak signal. It hits the preamp then magnifies it and sends it out to the interface, and then here we are. And hopefully I'm sounding louder, more pronounced, and probably more obnoxious than before. But the issue is that before, when I was using that 1/4 inch headphone jack, it doesn't allow current to go back in and power the preamp. I'm like, why? What's the difference? What's the difference between a 3-pronged XLR cable and a headphone jack? Well, it turns out that if you plug in a headphone jack into anything that can transmit 48 volts at so many amps of electricity back through, what's going to happen is that it's going to go through the headphone wire, and then it's going to go into one ear, and then arc across over to the other ear, and it's going to make a circuit, and your brain is in the middle of that circuit, and you have just give yourself electroshock therapy
Perfect.
unwittingly.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Grand.
no, like, if this was me in the 60s trying to figure this stuff out, I would have lobotomized myself by now. To give you an idea of how stupid I am. And so, yeah, like, I literally just went and bought an Amazon Basics XLR to XLR cable, plugged it into the interface, plugged it into the back of the preamp, and boom, here I am. I'm using I'm currently like at 8 o'clock on gain. I'm green across the board, and I'm not having to yell into the microphone. And yeah, I'm curious to see what this looks like when I have to edit this thing. But let me tell you guys, a dumpster fire or a trash can fire doesn't have to be big. It can just be
A cable.
a cable.
Yeah.
And so here I am.
Yeah.
I'm becoming this incredible sound, auditory magician, professor, expert, scientist, doctor, one cable at a time. And I think what you're doing is a smart game. You're waiting for me to spend like thousands of dollars in equipment of trial and error and making really, really bad decisions. And then when I finally get it figured out and it only costs like $150, here's the thing you got to do. You're going to go out and do it, knowing that I've already screwed up along the way.
Not intentionally, but that seems like that's what's going to happen.
I think that is definitely what's going to happen. It's and it makes sense. It's, you know, my wife does the same thing. My wife will watch me make all these quote unquote investments into hobbies or whatever, and then she'll see me kind of like pay the price socially, emotionally, and financially. Then when I actually get it all figured out, then she just kind of comes in at the end and, you know, does the final product, and it's better than what I did. And like, cool. This is great.
This is good.
So no, that's my trash can fire. Anybody out there who's ever done any sort of audio recording or, you know, tried to set up a podcast or whatever, I feel like you may know my pain. I feel like you may understand, whereas the rest of you out there who's more logical, methodical, or content with the setup that they currently have, which works perfectly fine, like, you're just laughing at me because I'm an idiot, and I'm okay with that.
I wasn't going to say that.
So yeah, that was my trash can fire. I got into an argument with a wire and a little metal tube.
Solid.
And a little metal tube kind of kicked my butt for a while, but I got back up and I conquered that little metal tube.
Speaking of conquer. Just gonna segue right in.
Oh yeah. No, I am unbelievably stoked about what you've got coming up here because,
you know,
yeah, this is something that I haven't studied all that much. This is something that, it's something that I don't think anybody's really studied all that much, and it doesn't get much more of a dumpster fire when you factor in
everything. Who
came out on top and the kind of fires that person created.
Yeah. So, yeah. We today are going to talk about a really weird and often skipped over piece of World War II-ish, pre-World War II history.
I would say World War 1.5.
I like that. The political version. The Game of Thrones version, the Succession version, the version that nobody actually pays attention to, but they probably should. HBO, take notes.
PM.
We are going to talk about Hindenburg's presidency between 1925 and 1934, and we are going to talk about how his decisions were swayed and he was swindled into appointing Adolf Hitler to become Chancellor of Germany in 1933.
Oh, so we're not talking about the blimp.
We are not talking about the floating bomb. No. No, we may do that in the future. We are going to be talking about Hindenburg the man, not Hindenburg the balloon. Maybe the balloon next time.
I feel like there's, like at this time in German history, there was like 10 last names that everybody had.
Especially in this region of the world.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, if you were to go into a 1930s high school and like, hey, do you know the Hindenburg boy? Yeah, that's like 500 boys. Oh. Do you know that Helmut von Hindenburg? Okay, that narrows it down to like 600 boys. Like, do you have anything else to go off of?
Right? Like,
yeah, I feel like there was probably a lot of Hindenburgs. But you know what's really interesting? If you look at after World War II, not a lot of Hitlers.
Oh, imagine that. I wonder why.
Yeah, there's just, I don't know.
It's bizarre.
Something about people named Hitler, whether they had anything to do with the mass murdering psychopath or not.
Yeah.
It seemed like after the war, everybody just kind of changed their last names. It's almost as though like it's almost like their last names like devalued their property values.
I guess that's what reputation does to you.
Yeah. I mean,
it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I guess if you want to like say my last name is Hitler, you're gonna
get some looks. You'll get some looks.
Yeah. No, it's a reputation that precedes itself.
Yeah, for very good reasons. Actually, very bad reasons.
But there's still a lot of Hindenburgs today, though, so that's something that should be recognized.
I agree. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to start off with his full name, which is long: Paul Ludwig Hans Anton von Beneckendorff und von Hindenburg. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's like 10 names in a name. He was born October 2nd, 1847 in Prussia, which is now Poland, and he died August 2nd, 1934 in Ludwig, Germany, which is now in Poland as well. He had a pretty general childhood up until about the age of 11. His father was an aristocrat, and his mother came from middle class. He didn't really talk about his mother much because of that, so that kind of says something about his idea of the middle class. At the age of 11, he became a cadet in the military, and then when he grew up and graduated military school, he served in the Austro-Prussian, or the 7 Weeks' War, in 1866, and he also served in the Franco-German War in 1870 to 71.
Wait. So we're talking like, this is the time frame of our last episode, like Custer, like we're talking
around the same time,
1866 to 1870 something. Like that's the time after. So we're talking about a dude that was fighting at the same time as the American Civil War.
Yes,
and this guy has something to do with the 1930s.
Yes.
Holy.
So that's why I'm speeding through this little part. And actually, if you look through his military career, it's very interesting. But I'm going to speed through this little part because we have a lot of political nonsense to talk about. He retired as a general in 1911. His military career was something to be considered honorable, but it wasn't anything inspiring. You know, he didn't make much history out of it, like nothing glorified. It was just he had a good military career, like solid, cool. Then World War I happened. You know, that guy Franz got shot. And then he was called back to serve in August of 1914. His assignment was to be the superior to a Major General Heinrich Ludendorff. As a side note, this guy was considered the Army's best strategist at the time. So being his superior was, nothing to scoff at. In this position, Hindenburg and Ludendorff were given the responsibility to lead an invasion force into East Prussia against the Russians. This invasion led to a victory called the Battle of Tannenberg. This battle resulted in complete decimation. Hindenburg and Ludendorff just rolled through everything, and it was to the point where the opposing general actually committed suicide. R.I.P. to that guy. Sorry you lost. Yeah, it was a whole thing. Look up the Battle of Tannenberg. It's actually really interesting.
That's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, check it out. It's if you have bad anxiety with war and stuff like that, don't look it up. Or for those of you who are into that stuff, look it up. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, it reminds me of Field Marshal Rommel. In World War II, he was like the most highest ranking, most highly respected tactician in all of World War II. And in World War I, his job was to take out machine gun bunkers by himself.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, like he crawled through the mud and he would throw a grenade in, he would shoot people. Like, yeah, he had machine gun fire flying over his head, and his job was to take out those machine gunners on the enemy line. And I'm like, okay. I mean, feel like he fought on the wrong side, but that's a man right there. Sounds like our boy Hindenburg was kind of the same thing. Like, he wasn't afraid to dive in the middle of insanity.
Yeah, no, he was built for war, let's put it that way. So after the victory at Tannenberg, he won a whole bunch of other smaller battles, and eventually his fame and recognition gave him this big, huge reputation that some people will say overshadowed the reputation of Emperor William II, who was the emperor at the time in Germany, because they were still a monarchy at this time, so don't forget, monarchy. He was promoted to the rank of field marshal, and in 1916, the emperor was pressured into giving him command of all German land forces, with Ludendorff as his sidekick. Despite all of these victories and claims to fame and all of the fun stuff, Germany began to realize that they weren't going to defeat Britain on land. They were way too powerful. They were starting to lose. They could see the war ending in a bad way for them. In an attempt to force Britain to surrender, they attempted to fight using submarines instead, in a very unrestricted way. So this is something that backfired on them. Backfired big time. The reason for the backfire was the subs, because it was such an unrestricted way of war. The U.S. was pulled into the war because of this decision by Germany, and Germany was eventually overpowered because of the U.S.'s involvement.
Like the sinking of the Lusitania?
Yep, that's it. That's the one.
Yeah.
Later...
Yeah. And then, like, Americans get involved at the tail end of the war. And, as Eddie Izzard, the comedian, put it, like, the Americans showed up and they're like, I love this smell of Europe in the morning. And and most of the war had already been fought at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Which, when we look at this and then you look at America's involvement in World War II, led Winston Churchill to say fondly, he loved America. He's like, you can always rely on the Americans. Like 100%. The Americans will always get involved when there's absolutely no other recourse and there's no other option, and they have to get involved.
Yeah.
That's kind of World War I here.
Yes. And honestly, this could even be a Hindenburg dumpster fire, because it was his and Ludendorff's decision to use submarine warfare, and it eventually drew the US in, and Germany was overpowered. Like, it was totally their fault.
Okay.
Okay. So later, after Germany surrendered, Hindenburg blamed the whole affair on Ludendorff and claimed he had nothing to do with it, because he wanted to keep his reputation clean and dandy. So, this guy, we're gonna root for him, but he's really not the greatest guy. Alright.
He's the lesser of all the evils.
Yeah, which is really saying something. Alright, after the war ended, in 1918, the emperor was overthrown, and he was replaced by a Republican government. Usually that is given the name either the Weimar Republic, and it functioned as a democracy, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Reichstag, is that the same thing, or is it a little bit different? I didn't go that far.
I think, oh boy. Yeah, you kind of put me on the spot here.
My bad.
I think the Reichstag it's something different than the actual Republic.
Okay.
because I think after World War One, due to the reparations and everything, what would become the United Nations at that time, they mandated, like, they specifically set up how the German government was going to work,
Right.
and that was a highly democratic type of government that eventually opened the doors for Hitler to come into place. And I think the Reichstag is what it didn't start off that way. It started off as a republic, and then I think it turned into the Reichstag, which then brought in Hitler. I think.
Okay.
Don't quote me.
I'm not going to, and it was my bad that I didn't do more research into that. But let's just leave it with Hindenburg worked for the new government, the Weimar Republic.
Yeah.
Just after
The
World War
Weimar.
One. Weimar, I'm sorry.
The W's.
Pardon my RVs. Pardon my... Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, whenever... I listen to a lot of Rammstein. It's... whenever you have a W in German, it's a V sound, so it's the Weimar.
Okay. Got it. I'm doing my best here. So I'm sorry for the listeners who are cringing every time I mispronounce something. I'm so sorry.
Like the German listeners are like, I'm hanging up on this podcast.
I hate this so much. She's just butchering absolutely everything.
That's fine. We're Americans. We get away with it.
You know, I'm trying. Anyway, so I'm going to set the scene here real quick, okay? Right after World War One, Germany is on the losing end of the war. They have this government put into place that nobody really likes to begin with. The new government was doomed from the get-go, so they were up against all of the following in the next few years. Crippling economic depression. People were just unhappy in general and often had frequent open rebellions against the government. And the political system itself was divisive and unreliable. Liberal parties, such as socialists and communists, couldn't see eye to eye. There was a lot of infighting. They had their own ideas. Each party had their own ideas. They were always fighting, even though they were both considered far left. The far right parties were never happy either. Even if they were in power, they were still scrutinizing each other. Even if, this guy is in the same party, they're going to criticize him for things that he's doing or whatever. So on the far right, there's just more infighting. So there's infighting on both sides of the fence, and then they're also fighting each other, and it's just absolute complete chaos.
This is concerning to me.
It sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Because this is what's going on today.
Yeah.
Like, I kid you not, like, when we watch the news, and I promise I want to do an episode on 24/7 news media being a dumpster fire, because I don't care, like, legitimately, I don't care left or the right. It like, I'm cool with either, but I'm noticing, especially today, that the left and the right is so polarized and so weaponized, and the news media is so charged. I feel like this is kind of like what we're seeing today is what you're describing in 1920s, 1930s Germany.
Yeah. So I'm just going to say it one more time. You ready? Crippling economic depression that came about in the mid to late 1920s. That was also a direct impact from the U.S. Depression in 1929. So it was just like a long-standing economic issue with the people there. People were obviously unhappy. They were unhappy with the government. They were unhappy with the economics of the government. They were unhappy with anything political. They were unhappy.
Yeah.
And there were often frequent open rebellions, and people were getting violent.
Didn't it though, like, the League of Nations, didn't they charge Germany with like hundreds of billions of dollars in reparations?
Yes.
That can't be good for an economy.
Correct. So that's why there was an economic depression before the U.S. Great Depression, and then once the U.S. Great Depression hit, it was like tenfold.
Jeez. It kind of gives you an idea. Again, there's a episode in The Crash of 29 where, like, there were people who were worth tens of millions of dollars on that October morning and then by the end of the day, they were penniless. So like that depression, that crash of 29 is absolutely insane. And it had far-reaching ramifications for years. So I can only imagine what that did to Germany. But I don't know. To me, it seems like Germany was facing a lot of these economic issues years before. Like here in America, the 1920s was the roaring 20s. Everybody was partying. We had Great Gatsby. Like everybody in America in the 1920s experienced this huge economic growth, but Germany was floundering.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. To me, it seems like it planted the seeds for an extremist to come into play later on.
Yes. So I'm just going to tell you now throughout this episode, starting now at this moment, you're going to start seeing these little glimpses of the answer to the question that is always asked in high school: how did Hitler gain power? I'm telling you now how Hitler gained power.
Because if you look at him as a man, he's not that impressive.
No, not at all.
And he was actually in jail during this time. Like, yeah, he was imprisoned for treason.
So what he was in prison for, actually, it does link up with this. It comes with the frequent open rebellion. Hitler staged a failed coup, I believe it was, in Germany. And it was violent and it was armed, and he ultimately failed. And that's what he went to prison for. And that's why he was so angry.
Was that the beer hall push?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, yes. At this time, Hitler was in jail, I think, but the Nazi Party was still rumbling. The political system was divisive, unreliable. We talked about this. The parties were all over the place. There were a lot of parties. So in the US, as of right now, we only have 2. Here in Germany, at this point in time, there were at least 4 and probably more. And because the politics of it all, it was like just so complicated, I didn't do a huge deep dive research into the different political parties, but I will say the big important ones are the socialists, the communists, the Nazi Party, and the Catholic something party.
Those are all extreme parties.
They're very extreme.
Like, you notice that there's no Green Party.
No.
There's no independents.
No.
There's no moderates.
No.
There's no progressives.
No.
We are talking, if you had a circle, if you could draw a circle in your mind of, like, in the middle of that circle is a normal, educated, decent human being with respect for everything. But then when you start drawing lines out to all these extremes, you just listed like every single party that could be as far out as possible.
Yes.
Socialists, communists, the Nazis, like
the Nazis.
Okay.
Like, holy.
So which extreme fashion or like what extremist do I place my vote on? Oh,
right.
Like, what this person who's going to kill everybody. Well, I'm going to go with this guy who's going to kill everybody, and then, well, shoot, I'm voting for this guy who's going to kill everybody. Cool.
Yeah.
We're all gonna die.
We're all doomed. So right after the war, all of this is happening. Meanwhile, Hindenburg was in charge of organizing the withdrawal of troops from other allied countries like France, and I think the other one was Bulgaria. And then he was also having his personal staff organize efforts to suppress any like left radical uprisings in Germany. So not only was he trying to get troops out of there, he was also like trying to calm people down. Stop revolting, please. He retired again in 1919 after he completed his duties successfully. And then he tried to remain nonpartisan during his retirement in later years. He was, he never really gave an opinion on extreme political topics. He never really had huge opinion on where his politics really lay. However, in April 1925, after the death of Frederick Ebert, Hindenburg was elected the Republic's second president. He was basically drawn out of retirement and elected the second president. Politically, even during his election years, Hindenburg remained neutral and adhered to Republican standards. So he tried to do his best to adhere to the Weimar Republic standards of the time, just to, covers. But Britannica said, despite his professed monarchism, he remained neutral, meaning he did feel that monarchy may have been the better idea, but this is where we are, so we're going to roll with it. Hindenburg was voted in with a public idea of uniting the country. So the general public voted him in, thinking this war hero guy, this guy who stands for, Germany winning the big battles of the war, he's going to unite the country despite all of this political divide. During his administration, there was a consistent and constant struggle to keep cabinet members. They were constantly resigning. They were always fighting. There was a huge turnover in cabinet members. There was little to no consistency, which caused a lot of problems in creating any kind of change or effective legislation. In other words, people didn't stay long enough to get anything done. Eventually, he gave up, and he leaned on constitutional articles that gave him authoritarian powers. Basically, he would just take his executive rule and do what he thought was necessary to get something done because nobody in the cabinet could agree, or they wouldn't stay long enough.
This is something that George Washington faced.
Mm-hmm.
Like, George Washington, he was a general, and I'm going to go on the record, and I'm going to say this outright now. I'm going to catch a lot of heat for it, but I'm okay for it. Washington wasn't that good of a general. He sucked as a general, all things considered.
Didn't he admit that himself?
I mean, yeah. He often said that, like, I don't want this position. I am actively trying to avoid this position, but if I have to take it, I'm going to do it reluctantly. And it is that mindset that, like, hey, I will be a president for 2 terms, and then after that, I'm done. And that is what laid the foundation for the 2-term presidency, going all the way up to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, until, like, his 4th time being elected, he had he died, and then that's when they passed the amendment saying, yeah, no, 2 terms or 10 years, and you're out, kind of a thing, just because of your own well-being. But that's besides the point. The thing is that Washington wasn't the best strategist in terms of military, but he was a brilliant politician. He knew how to play the politics game better than anybody else in America. Yeah, like, here he is, the first president of the United States, and he couldn't get anybody to align to anything. Even people in his own Federalist Party, he couldn't get anybody to align. And so he ultimately said, screw it. According to the Constitution, I have some certain executive powers. I'm going to use those powers because we need to make something happen. And I feel like Hindenburg here was kind of in the same boat. Yeah?
No, I could.
No?
I
Yeah?
can agree. No, I can agree. To me, it's a little bit different just because of it is just a different world happening right now.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. I'm going to ask all of you to do some mental gymnastics. Are you ready?
Yeah. Because physically, I can't do any gymnastics.
All right. So we just talked about Hindenburg and his time in office. So also, I just found out what the Reichstag is. I'll tell you in a minute. But we talked about Hindenburg and his time in office, and he's dealing with all of this political nonsense. Nobody's agreeing on anything, blah, blah, blah. It's utter chaos in politics. On the grounds, at the same time, you now have the Nazi Party running around Germany promising stability. They're promising a more powerful Germany. They are saying things like, this was not Germany's fault, and we will rise as a powerful nation again. This is not Germany's fault, and we are going to build back Germany, and we're going to build it with more stability, more money for everybody. Everybody's going to be more successful. We're going to have jobs. It's going to be great and grand, and we can do this. And at this time, especially when it started to get really close to election time, Hitler started to leave out all of his anti-Semitism, which I think is a detail that people don't talk about enough. When Hitler was doing his speeches and all of these things, later on, he left out a lot of his anti-Semitism, and that is actually how he got more popular with the general public.
Oh, so, I thought he kind of let off with that.
He did in the beginning.
Okay.
And then when it started to get into the 1930s, getting closer to 1933, he started to let off that gas a little bit. To where sometimes he wouldn't even talk about it in certain speeches. So he was playing the game, right? Playing the game of succession. He's playing the Game of Thrones, where he's starting to learn that maybe anti-Semitism isn't the best lead-off to get people to like you.
Okay. Like it almost like you got to pick your audience.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. On one hand, we have Hindenburg, who's old. He's retired twice, right? And he's dealing with all of this nonsense, trying to unify the government under this government that nobody likes. And then at the same time, you have Hitler and the Nazi Party running around Germany talking about how they're going to make it better. So we have a government that doesn't bring any kind of solution, and we have a party that is talking about bringing solution. Okay?
Yeah.
Are you with me?
I'm sorry. I was adjusting my mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will fix that.
That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Because I didn't want people to hear it as just.
That's fair.
All that.
Totally fair. All right. So, I just found out that the Reichstag is actually
Reichstag.
I didn't take German. I'm so sorry, everybody. This thing is a building in Berlin, and it's actually a meeting place for the Federal Assembly. So it's like a meeting place for the government. So when they talk about dissolving that means clearing it out. We're going to clean house, and we're going to have new elections. That's what that means.
Ooh.
Yes. Learn something new today. That's going to be very important going forward.
That's dangerous.
Yes.
If America ever fell into the realms of, hey, we've got 2 presidential candidates here, we're all going to vote, and if this person gets elected, then we're going to just redo the vote, and we're going to redo the vote, and redo the vote, and redo the vote until we get the desired outcome.
And that's eventually what happens here. So the way this is set up, and I know it's more detailed, I know there's more involved, I'm giving you the super nutshell version because I only have like an hour and 45 and I did not want to make this a 2-parter. The way this is set up is Hindenburg is president. Underneath him is chancellor, and then underneath chancellor is vice chancellor, and then you have other cabinet members underneath that. So that's kind of the hierarchy here. So Hindenburg's on top, then you have chancellor underneath. Okay. And then we have a vice chancellor.
Hindenburg is kind of like George Washington, right? He was a former famed general of, well, the losing side, but he was elected to be the guy, and then underneath him is another elected guy?
Correct.
Or was it somebody that he could pull up into his circle?
So underneath him, it was a guy that had the votes and was ultimately chosen. So it would be like you had the votes and then you would get signed off on it.
Okay.
Right? Okay. So, and if I am wrong, please let me know, correct me, because I don't want to give you anybody any misinformation. This was a lot. This was a lot.
It's okay, because that whole government has been destroyed, and I think everybody who was in that government is dead today.
Yeah, and I think what makes this difficult is, in my research, in the matter of all of the 5 to 6 hours of research I did for this, this form of government changed like 3 times. So bear with me. So Hindenburg went through 2 different chancellors from 1929 to the early 1930s. One was a social democrat that quit after not being able to agree on unemployment insurance.
Gosh.
Okay, the next guy.
So today.
I'm telling you, man, it's disgusting. The next guy, this guy was a man named Heinrich Brüning. All right, and he was a leader of a Catholic party. And they were siding kind of with the Socialist Party. Like, it was still like, meh. Hindenburg was part of the Social Democratic Party. This guy was like a faction of the Catholic Party. Brüning was handpicked by one of Hindenburg's advisors and close confidant, Kurt von Schleicher. Kurt von Schleicher is a piece of poop.
Oh, really?
He is something. And he's going to be very, very important going forward. You're going to be hearing his name a lot. Okay. So, as of right now, Schleicher was one of Hindenburg's close advisors. He was always in his ear. He was like that advisor guy who wouldn't go away because, like, the leader at this point was so old that he'd listen to anything this guy.
Yeah, he would listen to anybody that he could physically hear.
Yeah, we're pretty much there.
Let me turn up my bell tone here. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can hear the news station now. All right, here we go.
Well, let's put it this way. By the time Hindenburg had his second election, he was 85 years old.
That's old.
I'm not kidding when I say he was old.
Even by today's standards, that's old. 1930s, you're fossilized.
Ancient.
Yeah.
He's old.
You're not the 10 Commandment tablets that survived. You are a part of the other 10 Commandments that didn't make it.
Yeah. And to put it into scope for you, he died in 1934. All of this happened in the last, 4 years of his life.
Oh my god.
Yeah. This is a lot.
What a terrible retirement package.
He was pulled out of retirement twice, the poor man. Can you imagine?
Geez.
The first time he was pulled out of retirement, it was for World War I. The second time, it was because he had to fix the government.
Oh, no, I'm thinking retirement for me will be in the next 10, 15 years, and then I'll just have a heart attack and die.
You know?
This guy wasn't allowed that.
No, not at all. You kind of feel for him at this point.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So
oh, God, what a mess.
He's an absolute disaster. All right, so this guy Brüning, the current chancellor in the early 1930s, Brüning was getting nowhere with his ideas and his politics, just the same way everybody else before him. He would have all of these crazy ideas, well, not crazy, but he'd have all these ideas that he thought would just solve all of the world's problems, and nobody agreed with him. Those who did agree with him, it wasn't enough to get anything done, and the whole thing just in circles and circles and circles, right? It's the same thing over and over again. He went to Hindenburg, and he suggested that he dissolve the Reichstag, in 1930. Okay?
No. You gotta say it with more anger. Reichstag!
It's almost 10 o'clock at night. I'm not doing all that, right?
No, no. You've seen the YouTube channel of how the world hears German? Yeah.
Angry all the time.
Ambulance.
You know?
Krankenwagen! Everything in German is so angry.
I can't do it like that.
Krankenhausen Steinspielinghof.
Oh, I would struggle over there. All right. I'm too soft-spoken for this. Okay, so we have no idea why he thought it would be a good idea to dissolve the current government form. And it's to this day, nobody knows why he thought that was a good idea, but they did it.
Wait. So this would be no different than, say, our president today hopping on TV at prime time and saying, hey guys, we're dissolving...
You're fired.
Yeah, so we're dissolving all the representatives, all the senators, the Supreme Court. We're dissolving all of that, They all can go someplace else, and I am setting up something new.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, that's exactly what it is. They did this in 1930, and new elections would be held. So these elections showed two parties that were the most powerful. So what happened was they held these elections, all the people voted, and two parties showed up at the very top, tippy. Can you guess which parties those were?
The left and the right?
Yes.
I can't pronounce the names.
Can you guess the one on the left?
No, I'm not going to say the Nazi Party.
That's one of them.
Yeah, I would say the Nazi Party's on the right.
Yes, the Nazi Party would be the one on the right, and the Communist Party would be the one on the left.
Okay.
Okay.
That is so strange.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that is so strange about like how today's standards work is... I guess I could see how the left would side with the communist side of things, but when you go to the far right extreme, you end up in Nazism, you end up in nationalism, you end up in yet one person calling all the shots for how everybody's supposed to live. The same way when you go to the far left, you end up with one person calling all the shots on how people are supposed to live. Right.
And it is interesting to also note that at this point in history, communism was still fairly new and it hasn't been tried yet. You know, Mussolini still hadn't tried it, even though Mussolini was probably more of a fascist than anything else. And the Russians hadn't tried it yet. So really, it's more like one of those things where it's a cool, new, hip idea that we should maybe try.
I mean, Gene Roddenberry did that with Star Trek.
Yeah.
Like, in Star Trek, nobody had money, nobody had wealth, everybody worked for a central concept, everybody had what they needed, everybody had what they wanted, and that's what Starfleet was based off of. It was this idea that we don't need to pursue things for personal gain, we get to pursue things for personal interest. Now, on paper,
yes,
that looks really awesome.
Yes, and that's where I was going with that is, in theory, it's actually not a bad idea.
In practice,
it's a terrible idea.
No, it's a poo show.
Yeah.
No, it's a great way to impoverish and enslave, and it's
not fun.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. Anyway, so those are the two lovely parties that we have a choice of. Alright, so Brüning also gained more governmental power after the Reichstag was dissolved. So the only catch was that the president needed to sign off on everything he did. So after the Reichstag was dissolved, and the Communist Party and the Nazi Party are showing to be the big seats of power, he also made it to where he had more power over things, so he had a little bit more leeway with things. The only catch was that Hindenburg needed to sign off on every decision, and that will come back. Unfortunately, Brüning sucked, and it made the economic depression in Germany worse. Then he made it better.
Nice.
Yeah, so all of his great grand ideas, it just made it worse.
Yeah, it's almost like some famous guy we all know who tried to buy out Twitter and make it better.
What? I'm telling you.
Right, hey, I have all these great ideas because I made batteries for a car company. I can totally take over a social media site.
Yeah.
And there's some podcasts out there that are amazing that kind of dive into that whole hot mess, which is at a much smaller scale than what we've got going on here with Hindenburg and this hot mess.
I told you it was a hot mess, man.
Oh god,
this is on some level.
Yeah, I can see why this bothered you from the beginning, because everything that I'm hearing is like what we're seeing today.
It's not good. Learn from history.
Not.
People learn from history. It's there. It's right in front of you. Okay, so at the same time, all of this is happening. The people are having to vote again and again and again, right? And things are being shuffled around in government.
Now, who could vote?
I think
Was it just working
men.
class men?
Yeah.
Or
I want to say yes. And
okay.
I'm going to fact check myself right now, so give me like half a second. I don't want to be wrong about that. Let's see. Elections. No, that's the wrong type of Google search. And we can edit this out. We don't have to hear me Google.
Oh, I'm leaving all of this.
Good.
This is gold.
Great.
This is what people sign up for our podcast for. Just you and I fact checking, like, oh crap, did I get this right? No.
Okay.
No. Wait. It's emperor penguins in Antarctica.
Yes.
That's the cause.
That's it. Let's do the 19. They put 1930s. It was like Jewish people could not vote. And I was like, okay, I know, but
we kind of got that. Like, that's just a dead giveaway. No pun intended.
So I'm so glad I checked.
I'll edit that out.
I'm so glad I checked. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So, the voting age was lowered from 25 to 20.
Okay.
Austrian citizens living in Germany were allowed to vote. Women were allowed to vote. They gained the right to vote in 1918.
Okay.
And yeah, that's about it.
Really?
So, yeah, like dudes who were 20 and older, and also women and Austrians.
Really?
Fun fact. We learned something new today. Thank you, Britannica.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
I thought they would really narrow down.
Not until the Nazi Party took over afterwards.
I get it. The Nazis ruined it.
Yes.
For everybody, including 6 million Jews.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, I thought for sure that this election would have been very constraining, very limited in terms of who could vote. But then again, though, I wonder how many of those votes were actually counted.
I don't know. Now we're getting in the weeds. And I didn't get this far down into the weeds, and maybe I should have.
No. That's my fault. I'm the guy who lives in the weeds. I have nothing to do with weed. But I'm the guy who will spend 47 hours straight trying to figure out why a certain president had a flower on his windowsill for 4 years.
Yeah.
That's the kind of crap I get myself into. So
that's fair.
So yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. No. Proceed.
Okay.
You're on the right track.
All right. So, after the party was dissolved and Brüning was stinking it up, Hitler was still going, he was out of jail at this time, and he started going around saying things like, this was not Germany's fault, we're gonna be powerful again, yada yada yada, all hail Germany, hail Hitler, blah blah blah.
He was doing a book tour, wasn't he?
Yeah, probably, I don't know.
Something about, like, woe is me, all my struggles. Mein Kampf.
I'll never be an artist.
Yeah. Like, this isn't my fault. It's somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
And he freaking got millions of people killed. That freaking douchebag.
Fun fact: he was Austrian. He wasn't even German. Anyway, meanwhile,
he was half Jewish. His father was Jewish.
I know.
His mother wasn't.
I know, and we could rail on Hitler as much as we want, but we are not going to do that. I'm going to reel it in.
Maybe a future episode when you and I are like just so frustrated with our lives, if we can just like pin the blame on.
We'll just have a roasting.
Historical a-hole.
Yeah.
That this deserves to be railroaded into the ground.
I'm down for that.
Yeah, it'll be like a historical roast.
Yeah. I agree. I'm down for that. But for right now, just for all intents and purposes.
Das Hindenburg.
I'm going to move on. Boy. Meanwhile, a few months after the election, here's Schleicher coming in. He's realizing that they need the support of the Nazi Party to be successful and gain people's approval. The Nazi Party gained so much approval for this first election that they realized that the Social Democratic Party was dying. And the Social Democratic Party did not stand a chance unless they pulled in the Nazi Party, because the Nazi Party was the biggest party, right? So Schleicher is like, well, maybe we can use these guys to our advantage, and that way we can stay in power. Just this pesky little Hitler guy, man. He's so annoying. So what the Schleicher guy did is he contacted Ernst Röhm of the SA, the stormtrooper faction of the Nazi Party. And this was like, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I had no idea of.
Yes, good times. So this was a connection that was made between the Nazi Party and a legitimate government power, and it is the first time that it was done so. It did happen afterwards a little bit, but Schleicher was the first person to make this connection between a legitimate government power and the Nazi Party. Fun fact. Schleicher also arranged a meeting between President Hindenburg and Hitler on October 1931 in an attempt to convince Hindenburg to side with them. So let me tell you what Hindenburg thought of Hitler. Hindenburg thought Hitler was annoying. He thought Hitler was distrustful. He didn't believe a word Hitler said. He didn't want anything to do with Hitler. Hindenburg wanted nothing to do with Hitler. He thought he just got like a really bad vibe. You know when you get a bad vibe about a guy and you're like, this is not good?
Yeah.
Those were the vibes, you know.
It had to have been the mustache.
The mustache or like the small, weak demeanor hiding behind the army. I don't know. But
yeah. No, if I ever come across anybody with a mustache like Hitler, I'm immediately critical, because it's like, bro, you can grow out your nose hairs long enough to make that mustache, but you don't have the facial hair or the facial follicles to make a proper mustache.
Right.
Because I think Hindenburg at this time, he probably had the full handlebar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'll post pictures of him. He was impressive.
Yeah, no, like any dude that can just do the whole handlebar mustache with the wax curl.
Oh yeah, there was a curl. It was nice and white, you know.
Oh yeah, that's just
the full military getup. Like he was something.
Yeah, where like his whole left breast coat was just nothing but weird metals.
Yeah, that's there's a photo. There's a photo of it. I'll find it and I'll send it.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I'm sorry. I don't want to like digress here at all, but I'm going to. But when it came to military fashion, the Germans and even the Nazis, I freaking hate the Nazis for everything they stand for. But let's face it, when it came to the uniforms, they were on point.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I could see it.
Yeah, like they knew how to dress. Now, all the mass murdering, psychopathic, genocidal tendencies, yeah, that can all they all can burn in hell. But when you look at like say the German military in World War II and whatnot, I'm sorry, their uniforms are way better.
They were when you look at the
Americans
doing it.
Yeah, like the Americans are just wearing like boots, gaiters,
pajamas,
and a shirt. They're covered in mud. They look like crap. And, meanwhile, here's my friends Hans Steinstiekenhaken. Yeah. Look at this guy. He's just amazing.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's the Germans knew how to dress. They were fabulous.
They were pretty fabs. So no, but that actually paints a really, really good picture. So just imagine a puny little Hitler with a stupid mustache going up to like this impressive 83-year-old man with he's a decorated war vet, right? Like he's a war hero. Everybody loves him, and he has like just this fantastic mustache and whatever. And then you have puny little Hitler going up to him being like, I want to be your chancellor. And he's going to be like, absolutely not. You're an idiot. And then that's the end of it. So we're going to see this happen repeatedly over and over and over and over again. This first
So, like,
time,
Hitler was speaking up at this time?
yes. So this is October 1931.
Oh, okay.
October 1931. So Hitler's trying to get in good with the government at this point.
Wow.
Yeah. So when Schleicher arranged this meeting, Hitler was all kinds of excited. Super giddy. He saw this as an opportunity to show Hindenburg as to why he was the key to make everything right, why he was right about everything. He was going to solve all the world's problems with murder.
Oh my god.
Unfortunately for Hitler, right before his meeting, he was going through a personal travesty of his. He was devastated from the death of his niece. Supposedly he was in love with his niece romantically. It was a thing, like they were most likely going steady. I don't think there's really anything to prove it, but it's strongly implied.
Isn't there a Game of Thrones series dedicated to an uncle and niece?
I'm telling you, HBO,
Love affair?
make this. HBO, make this. Anyway.
I think it's already been done.
It's been done with a medieval twist and dragons.
The dragons make it okay.
I love that show.
It's a good show. I agree. I can't imagine, though, me approaching my niece in any way. But
no, it's weird. It's absolutely weird.
Yeah, it's absolutely weird, but hey, you know what? White people in medieval times, anything flies.
I guess that's true. All right. You're right. So he had this niece, and eventually, while Hitler was trying to rise in the ranks of power or whatever, it started to come out that she was his niece, and she eventually saw this as like him blowing her off or whatever, and she killed herself, and he was devastated. Yeah, no, she committed suicide.
Whoa, that escalated fast.
It's actually really interesting, and it's a part of Hitler's history, which is why I'm only touching on it. But it is very, very interesting and also gross. But
wait, so somebody actually loved Adolf for who he was to the point where they took their own life?
She straight up took her own life, and it's a little bit unclear, but it's either because he was gaining in the ranks of power and she didn't like it, or it was crushing her reputation as a human to where she started to get affected negatively by all of his fame, or it may have been a little bit of both.
Okay.
If that makes more sense.
So life advice to anybody listening to this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in love with somebody who wants to exterminate the human race, you're probably got your priorities mixed up.
Yeah.
If you're in love with somebody to the point where you don't even know what's going on and you want to take your own life to preserve that person that you have no idea what's going on, there's somebody better. Like, I'm sorry that there's enough human beings out there that you can find happiness with. If you are giving your own life up for somebody like frickin' Hitler, yeah, take a step back.
Yeah, maybe think about that.
Yeah, just evaluate things. Like,
I get he's your uncle, but like, let's chill.
Yeah, no, like you may be into your uncle, but you find somebody else's uncle. It's just
at least,
like,
you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, Hitler has all this stuff going on, right? So when he gets to the interview, it's like an interview that you have when you're 16 and you absolutely blow it. You know, it's just, he started spouting out with his anti-Semitism and his hate speech and all of this stuff. And
I feel like that's what did him in when he was trying to apply for art college in France.
Yeah, probably.
Like, yeah, hi, I'm here. I'm applying for a job. I hate Jews, but everything else is cool. I will draw and I will paint everything, but as long as it's not Jews, I'm okay.
Yeah, that sounds like Hitler.
Get the hell out.
Get out. Leave. So, shortly put, Hindenburg still hated him.
Yeah.
There were more future meetings like this one, but still no one could agree on a position for Hitler, and Hitler was never satisfied with their offers. So Hitler and Schleicher and Hindenburg did have continuous meetings trying to figure out how they could make it work. On Schleicher and Hindenburg's side, it was more like, we need the power of the Nazi Party, but we would rather not have Hitler involved. And of course, Hitler being Hitler, he was like, well, I need to be involved. And it went round and round and round and round and round like this for a while. Schleicher knew he needed to make some adjustments for himself. While all of this is going, he's like, well, I need to do something for myself. That way I can make sure I'm okay. So what he did was he undermined his boss.
Okay.
And then he got him fired, for starters. And then he began devising a plan to get Brüning out of his way, so the chancellor at the time. So within Hindenburg's cabinet, they began working on firing the chancellor after Schleicher got his dirty little hands on him. Schleicher was successful, and Brüning resigned in May 30th. Hindenburg was not the sole leader. So, I'm sorry. That was a dumb note that I made. Schleicher was successful, and Brüning resigned in May 30th. This left Hindenburg with sole power because there was no chancellor.
Oh.
Right? So,
wow. Okay.
Yes. So Schleicher at the time wanted a monarchy. He felt that it was more important to have a king, and he was aiming for Hindenburg as the king, and to get rid of anybody in his way. So at this point, Schleicher's working it out, right? So what happened was after Brüning resigned, there was no chancellor, therefore we kind of have like this fake monarchy thing happening. Unfortunately for Schleicher, Hindenburg was 85 years old, and he's saying, I am way too old for this stuff. You can replace that word with something else. Meanwhile, Hindenburg is like, I'm too old. I cannot be your sole leader person, you know?
I don't know. Okay, so I have a lot of experience with old people.
Uh-huh.
I grew up in I was raised in a retirement community. I've noticed that old people, we're talking like late 80s, early hundreds. I noticed that the way that they play the game of life is way different than what we do. I noticed that when you're like in your 90s, there's nothing that you can say or do that will radically change somebody's philosophy in life, especially if they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever. And so what they do is they nudge you. They just kind of like drop a hint. They kind of plant a seed, and this seed will come to fruition later on. And I wonder if that is what Hindenburg was doing in this case, right? He's older than everybody. This guy just wants to frickin' die.
Yeah,
right?
He doesn't want to be in power.
Yeah, he doesn't want this job. Historically, people who don't want the position tend to be the best ones who are in that position. And so Hindenburg didn't want to be here. Hindenburg didn't want to be a part of this. He probably just wanted to live out his life in the mountains and die peacefully in his sleep.
Mm-hmm.
But he was never afforded that. And so he knows that the only way that he can do things is by nudging, by just dropping hints here and there, just by leaving these tiny little morsels of wisdom that other people would pick up in time. Because when you're in your 80s and your 90s, you understand that the little morsels you left behind are what people are going to attach to. So I don't know. Do you think there could have been some of that going on here with Hindenburg, or did this guy just want to die?
He was done.
Okay.
He was 100% done, but I think there's something to that. Because in 1932, Hindenburg ran for president again.
Holy crap.
The only reason, the sole reason he ran for the presidency for a second time is because he was the only candidate who could beat Hitler.
Oh.
So Schleicher did also, on top of the fact that Hindenburg was the only one who could beat him, Schleicher also promised Hindenburg that they would search for a new chancellor and a president, so that way he could retire. Schleicher made this backhanded deal where if Hindenburg runs and he wins, we'll start looking for a new chancellor. That way you could just be president and sign off on things, but the chancellor is going to do all of the heavy lifting. And so you could technically just retire.
Okay.
Right? So Hindenburg won the election, and he did win in 1932. And at this point, the Nazi Party was so big, it was basically the Nazis versus everybody who didn't like the Nazis. So we're down to the Nazi Party basically swallowed up all of the extreme far-right party. And then on the other side, it was just people who didn't like the Nazis. They just don't want Hitler involved, right? And that's basically how it ended up in 1930.
Okay.
Schleicher began working on finding a new chancellor for Hindenburg. At the same time, he was setting up more meetings between Hitler and Hindenburg. More of them, even at this point. But this time, it started to become a little bit more public. Hitler was starting to publicly say, I'm meeting with Hindenburg, and I will participate as chancellor in any party in support of the Nazis. And he even went as far as demanding the job after making some gains in the re-election. So the Nazis did so well in the elections. Hitler was basically just saying, I'm your chancellor. I'm not taking anything less. So in all of these meetings, Hindenburg stood his ground. I do not like you. You suck. Maybe we'll give you this cabinet seat or whatever. And Hitler would be like, no, I want to be chancellor. And it was just constant.
Jeez.
Yep, just constant. So Schleicher put into place a plan in which they would hire a weak chancellor that could be controlled.
Nice.
Yeah, so solid. So what they did is they gave it to some dude named Franz von Papen. And this guy had zero political backing from any kind of party. He had no power whatsoever. His background is weak. So they found their man, right? And Schleicher was promoted by Hindenburg to the Minister of Defense. So Schleicher didn't really want to be promoted to Minister of Defense. He liked working in the back. It's like some weaselly puppeteer. He enjoyed that. And then Hindenburg was like, nope, too bad, you're my minister.
I think that was Hindenburg playing the game. Well.
Yes.
If you get a guy who is undermining, who is willing to get a lot of people killed, if you get a guy who is just hell-bent on, forwarding his career or whatever, then you need to put that guy in a spot where, one, he could get himself killed, and two, whatever he does, it's going to propel your career and your house, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if that's what Hindenburg was doing. I feel like there's a lot of stuff here going on with Hindenburg, especially pertaining to legacy type of stuff. Hey, look, when I fail, we're going to have this 4-foot-tall mass murdering psychopath. But when he's eventually defeated, Germany is going to be able to propel on a different path.
Maybe.
That's very Isaac Asimov of me. Anybody who's read the Foundation novels or the robot novels or whatever, I feel like there's a part of Hindenburg that is thinking not just his lifetime, not just his next generation's lifetime, but then the generation after that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me thinking. It smells like burning bacon in my office, so it's
now why I was like, oh my god, when I logged on.
Yeah, no, that's it. If you're listening to this and you smell burning bacon, that's my brain trying to figure stuff out. So
if you're listening to this and you're still with us keeping track, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, no. Everything after this episode, we have our hardcore fans.
This is a lot. Maybe I should have made this a two-parter.
No, you're good, because the political craziness that this is, it's best to consolidate it into one episode.
Yeah.
And yeah, let people digest it like a cough drop.
It's a good idea.
Yes.
All right. So like a cop drop, we're gonna move on. Sick. Okay, good. All right. So this guy, Franz von Papen, the weak chancellor. So him and Schleicher got together and they made another plan. Are you ready for it?
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna dissolve the Reichstag.
Oh, God.
And between
We are going to destroy the government again. And again and again until it is what we want it to be as the final solution.
Oh, God. I don't even know how to take that.
Did I nail it, though?
It was pretty good. That was pretty good. This is what they did. They did, in fact, dissolve the Reichstag. And they also lifted bans from the Nazis' SA to try to make them happy. So what they did was beforehand, the SA had a ban because they got too violent. They were killing people left and right. And they're like, no more, right? Nazi party, no more.
Okay.
What they did here is they dissolved the Reichstag, and at the same time, to try and get the Nazis on their side, they lifted this ban.
Oh.
And what this did, the SA ban was lifted, but once that happened, they murdered communist people, not even Jewish people. They aimed for the communist people.
Okay.
Left and right. The streets weren't safe anymore for normal people. People who were not of the Nazi party stayed inside. So not only do you have like the nonsense happening with anti-Semitism, but you now also have people who were for the more left-leaning, I guess, communistic party being murdered left and right, and they couldn't even leave their house.
So we're talking people that were like pro-Germany, pro-Reichstag. We're talking people that were very nationalistic, but they weren't the right kind of nationalistic.
Yes.
They were being exterminated.
Yes.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to, like, you know, find like-minded folks, is by killing the people that aren't like-minded.
That's the way to win elections.
Ugh, goodness.
Yep. So new elections were held in November of that same year. Hitler tried again for the chancellor job and demanded more meetings with Hindenburg. And again, Hindenburg was like, you can be vice chancellor, but no go on the chancellor position. And then it was just continuously the same thing back and forth. After the November elections, Hitler actually lost seats, and Papen gained seats. So we're starting to see the Nazi party lose some popularity here, probably because the SA was killing everybody.
Okay.
Schleicher began realizing his government plans were also falling apart for him personally, because now there's a chancellor in place and Papen is gaining popularity, so now he's not a weak chancellor anymore. He's starting to grow into his own, and so Schleicher was like, well, this isn't good. I won't be able to control him anymore. So in an attempt to save them and fend off Hitler's efforts at the same time, he and Papen drew up an agreement with Hitler behind Hindenburg's back, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So this is how it went. Schleicher offered. Okay. Schleicher made a 3-point plan of attack. Okay. This is how it went. I had to read through my notes a little bit because this is stupid. Schleicher offered that he should be chancellor instead of Papen, and Hindenburg said, no go. You need to win an election in order to do that. Like, you need the approval of the people in order for me to give you the chancellor job, basically. So no go with that. All right. And then at the same time, Schleicher continued to attack Papen and his reputation. So they were buddy-buddy, and now Schleicher was like, you suck. Hindenburg became so frustrated with the infighting, he gave in and made Schleicher chancellor in 1932.
Okay.
Hindenburg knew that Schleicher wouldn't succeed. He was too sneaky, too weaselly. He already had a reputation following him that he would backstab you, right? So his reputation basically would not let him succeed, and Hindenburg knew this. So Schleicher did attempt to appoint Hitler under his rule while he was chancellor. So Schleicher did try, again, to get Hitler underneath him, and Hitler was so stubborn, he said, no go.
Oh my goodness.
I want to be chancellor. I want your job.
I'm not going to take anything until I'm, like, the leader. So, like, you're going to have to just, like, deal with it.
Yeah. Hitler continuously said no, even if it meant a blow to his party, which was on a downswing. So the Nazi party was on the down.
Okay.
And even then, Hitler was still too stubborn to be like, I'm not taking this unless this is chancellorship, right? Eventually, Hitler met with Papen, even though Papen was no longer in power. What this did is Hitler learned through Papen that Schleicher was doing a bad job, and that the Reichstag was not allowed to be dissolved anymore. So Hindenburg put a stop to the dissolving of the Reichstag over and over and over again. And also, Schleicher was not doing a good job.
Yeah.
So Hitler learned all these things. So now Hitler is devising his own plans to try to get in Hindenburg's back pocket.
Okay.
Even though he's failed over and over again. Schleicher found himself without political backing. And in January, he asked Hindenburg to dissolve the Reichstag again to receive full emergency power, which was basically a dictatorship. In response, Hindenburg said, no go. Frustrated and defeated, Schleicher finally resigned, and he gave up. Hindenburg sent Papen to explore options that would finally appease Hitler, because at this point, if you didn't have Nazi backing, then the Nazis are going to take over completely, and then you're in a really bad place. So it's like,
Yeah.
Be friends with your enemy type of thing and try to control it best you can.
Yeah, you want to show support for the people that will kill you.
Correct.
If you don't show support.
There is that too. There's a threat happening.
Yeah. It's just like, no. Welcome to our town. Welcome to my house. Are you here to kill me? I don't know. Do you support our party?
Sure.
What your party stands for? But you have big guns, so I support you.
Yeah. It's more like a survival tactic at this point.
Yeah.
Alright, so Papen and Hitler agreed on forming a government with Hitler as chancellor, Papen as vice-chancellor, and non-Nazis in all of the other posts. So, like, nobility, people who really don't care about government.
Okay.
This was the plan that they came to Hindenburg with. Hindenburg was assured by Papen that Hitler could be easily controlled. This guy was like, no, don't worry, he'll do anything I say. He's cool. Just let me handle him. I got this, right? It's cool. Don't worry. Hindenburg is like,
Interesting.
Okay. Nazis, and in this agreement, the Nazis could not control the police. That was the state's job, not the Nazis' job. So the SA, calm down. And Hitler was never allowed to do anything, make any kind of decisions, go to any meetings, do anything without Papen with him. So Hitler basically had to have a chaperone.
Wow.
On January 30th, 1933, Hindenburg agreed and appointed Hitler as chancellor of a new cabinet with only two other Nazis in office, Wilhelm Frick and Hermann Göring.
Oh, Göring?
He held an office.
Oh my
Hindenburg's
God.
advisors. Oh yeah, I know. Well, nobody knew. It's like hindsight 2020, right? Hindenburg's advisors, the men who advised 85-year-old Hindenburg, who was just ready to retire and die, they believed that this scenario would allow them to govern behind the scenes. Meaning, we have Hitler reeled in, and this was a direct quote too, we have Hitler hemmed in, one said, yet as one German historian later wrote, this remark should be included in any anthology of famous last words.
Wow.
So thank you, HolocaustMuseum.com for that quote. Shortly after the Reichstag fire in March 1933, so the building, the Reichstag, was actually caught burnt during this time, I think out of rebellion. After that fire, German Parliament passed the Enabling Act. Okay. Basically, what this act does is it gives Hitler dictatorial powers held by the 85-year-old president. So, in other words, Hindenburg lost all power he had, and it was handed over to Hitler due to this Enabling Act.
Jeez.
Hindenburg really didn't do much at this point to restrain Hitler or try to control him. Hitler just continued to get his power and increase in power and targeting racials and, all of that fun stuff. So Hitler doing Hitler. And eventually Hindenburg died August 2nd, 1934, with Hitler in complete control. He tried.
Whoa.
He tried. And I'm going to end it right there. You're welcome.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm going to end there because I think from 1933 on, we could probably be safe to say that, well, there was some stability under Hitler. It was mostly ruthless racial attacks and war and the Holocaust.
So the thing that I wonder, I wish I could have been in the group home that Hindenburg sat in and whatnot. I legitimately wonder if he knew, like, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound kind of weird or out there, but I wonder, for somebody who is old as Hindenburg was, he knew what the outcome of Hitler's psychotic scheme was going to be. And in turn, he knew what would defeat that, so that what came about afterwards would be way more functional.
Meaning you have to make a mess before you clean it up?
Yeah, and the reason why I bring this up, I remember talking to my grandfather, who was like 92 years old at the time, and he was a staunch supporter of voting for the crazy whatever wing radical that was out there, because it would shake things up, it would disrupt things, so that, 10, 15, 20 years later, it would balance itself out in something that is better. And so, I don't know, like I said, I've been reading a lot of Isaac Asimov. If anybody's read the Foundation novels or the robot novels or whatever, it's one of those things where, hey, I'm looking at what's going on now, and it's a hot mess. My children are going to have to deal with this hot mess, and their children are going to have to possibly deal with a hot mess, but their grandchildren after that will have something to look forward to.
I can see that.
So, like, I wonder, and that's the thing, it's just like, somebody who's in their late 80s or 90s or whatever, those are the only conclusions that somebody could have when they are at that age, if that makes sense.
I think so.
So I almost wonder if Hindenburg was like, yeah, no, it's a poo show right now. It's been a hot mess prior. It's an absolute dumpster fire in my generation. It will probably be a dumpster fire or a landfill fire for the generation after that. But then the generation after that, well, maybe they can pay back the reparations. And if I remember, Angela Merkel?
Mm-hmm. Angela Merkel.
Yeah, she signed off on the final payment for all the reparations from World War I.
Wow.
If that makes sense. I feel like...
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes somebody who is, I don't know, it takes somebody who can see past their current generation, the upcoming generation, and even the generation after that, and they can start making statements that would make sense to fix the current day's problems.
It's definitely, I've seen that before too, in like the founding of the nation.
Yeah.
And again, it's old people. So, in the founding of the nation, they did try to address slavery, but they decided to leave it open-ended in the Constitution, saying this is the future generations'
problem.
We couldn't solve it. I'm so sorry, but you guys are going to have to solve this. And then Abraham Lincoln came in.
Yeah.
The Gettysburg Address. Not the Gettysburg Address, I'm sorry. The other one. What was the other one? Emancipation Proclamation. That's the one.
Yeah. No, and that's exactly how it happened, is that we look at Ben Franklin, and he knew that there was no way, because he was a Quaker, there was no way that he could abolish slavery in his generation. He couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So what he proposed was a further conflict, right? The 3/5 compromise. And so what he did is not necessarily try to avoid the he didn't try to avoid the problem, But what he tried to do was say, hey, this problem exists now, and I'm passing it down to a different generation of people who can work with this legislation or these laws. And if they can't figure it out, then it goes to the next generation.
Right.
And so I wonder, like, I don't know. It sounds really strange, but I remember talking to my grandfather in the last years of his life and bringing up the social, emotional, social media issues and all that stuff. And I remember my grandfather saying, like, well, yeah, no, it's different than how it looked when I was your age, but legitimately, it works the same way. And so I wonder if Hindenburg, in all this chaos and political chaos, I wonder if Hindenburg was like, hey, look, we're going to be stuck with this a-hole, first-class genocidal maniac for the next 10 years or so. And the next person is probably going to suck as well, but maybe after all of that, Germany will be on a path of stability.
Yeah, maybe. I'd like to think that he had the foresight or the forethought. Not foresight, but forethought.
Yeah, I know it's super tricky. It's a really tough thing because here we are, like you and I. Yeah, I know you and I are like 10 years apart from each other, but all things considered, the wisdom that we have developed will, like, hey, teenagers, you're going to be okay. You don't have to put all your eggs in a basket. Teenagers, don't fret over this stuff that you're dealing with, because in 20 years it's going to be so much better.
Yeah.
Like you and I both know, like, guys, okay, it's just a girlfriend, it's just a boyfriend. It's you're going to be okay. I know it sucks, but you will deal with it. And then when you're in your 30s, going into your 40s, you're like, oh, yeah, no, I could totally handle that completely different.
Yeah.
Now, imagine you and I talking to somebody who is twice our age, right? Somebody who's in their 90s, who has gone through multiple generations of crap that we have. Yeah, the only thing they can do, because they know that they don't have the strength to, like, completely change reality, is they can go back and plant seeds in people, can, I don't know, maybe foster those ideas, and that's the only way they can fix things in the future.
No, I get that. Like, at that point, all they have is their wisdom, and the best way to help is to share that wisdom.
Yeah, and that's what God, I would love to have talked to Hindenburg at this time, because he was on the way out, like physically, mentally, emotionally. Like, this guy served his purpose.
And then some, I would.
Yeah, I would have loved to have been able to talk to him and, hey, bro, where do you see this going? Can you look at America? Can you see where it's going? Can you look at the world and see where it's going? And deep down inside, I like to think these people like, Hindenburg or Winston Churchill or Neville Chamberlain or, Franklin Delano Roosevelt or Harry S. Truman, and all these guys, I like to think that they had a vision in mind of where the world will be, but it's going to take not the current generation or the following generation, but maybe the generation after that to make it work.
Right. No, I get it.
Yeah, no, to me, it's highly romanticized. I like, again, Kara, I don't know if you've read anything from Isaac Asimov.
I have not. Truthfully, I have not.
You should read the Foundation novels, where this is a guy who created a mathematical equation that could predict the future.
Okay.
And he did so in the premise of a galactic empire where there was like 40 billion people living on the planet that he was currently staying on, and there was like 400 trillion people in this galaxy. And he's like, hey, look, it's falling apart here. It's the empire is falling apart, but multiple generations down the road, it doesn't have to be that way. And so, yeah, like Isaac Asimov, like I said, I've been rereading all of his books, the Foundation novels. For those of you out there who know, yeah, you know they are incredible novels, as well as the robot novels and blah 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 blah. But it really does boil down to like, okay, Hindenburg, do you know what you're doing? Do you know that the decisions that you are making are going to railroad things into the ground now, but later on they'll pay off?
If I could ask him that question, I absolutely would. And I think many historians would love to ask him the same question.
Yeah, no, it's it's a fascinating thing. It's tricky because we don't know how much somebody knows at the end of their life.
Yeah.
Probably because they don't have the time to announce it all. So I don't know. For me personally, if a 90-year-old person on their deathbed tells me to do something,
You're gonna
I'm
do it.
inclined to do it.
Fair.
So yeah, I know I completely detracted from the narrative here. I really wish Hindenburg was around. I would have loved to have talked to him and understood his thing or his perspective. I would have loved to have talked to everybody else around him. I would have loved to have personally shot Hitler because, you know, maybe have a Quentin Tarantino discussion.
Oh, there you go.
With Hitler and then shoot him.
Right.
You know? So yeah, like the story, the narrative, the situation, everything that you brought up was like, holy crap.
That was a lot.
It's a lot.
That was a lot. I didn't realize, because when you watch documentaries about Hitler, it's usually like a 5-minute
yeah.
half-over, you know? Like, this happened, and then, you know, Hitler got the chancellorship from Hindenburg. Hindenburg was 85 years old, and he was being a little bit manipulated, and then this continues on, and, you know, then Hitler goes on and invades Poland, and so, but it caught my attention, and I want to look into it, and I didn't realize it was an iceberg effect to where it was the 5-minute on the documentary, and then you look underneath the water, and boom, you have all kinds of Game of Thrones-esque situations happen.
It's actually the what is known as the hindsight paradox. So, like, you and I, we can look at any, like, in today, anybody can look at any famous person in history and be like, okay, here's George Washington in the Revolutionary War. He is doing what he's meant to do from beginning to end, and then he became what he was meant to do as a president from beginning to end, right? And we can look at Julius Caesar, and we can look at, you know, Winston Churchill, we can look at Adolf Hitler, we can look at all of these people. And here's the thing, is that, like, you and I can crack open a history book and like read what these guys are supposed to do, but then if we were to teleport ourselves from the present into their present, forgetting whatever came afterwards, like every, you know, if you're Winston Churchill, not knowing what is going to happen tomorrow or the next day or the next week or the next month, you are now having to deal with all their uncertainties, their guesses, all their insecurities. And so, yeah, I feel like that is something that we history nuts focus on, like hey, Joan of Arc, this is what she was destined to do. Vasily Zaitsev, hey, you were good with a hunting rifle, this is what you were destined to do. But if we were to go back in time, hey, Hindenburg, this is the legacy that you left. And Hindenburg would be like, yeah, no, I precisely did it the way I did because it's gonna cause a lot of heartache now, but it will fix things later on. And so, yeah, it's one of those things where I've often wondered just how much people know, especially when you're in your 90s. Like, yeah, you're old. You've seen a thing or two. You've done a thing or two.
Yeah.
When you are in your 30s and 40s at that historical event and you're trying to make the right decisions for all of history to read, what do you do?
Right.
So, I know, super philosophical, like just over the top craziness.
It got like way heavy at 11 o'clock at night.
It is way heavy.
My brain can't handle that at this moment.
No brain should be at this time. It's one of those things where, yeah, I kind of wish that I could have talked to these guys that were like a George Washington in his 90s on his deathbed and asked him, hey dude, where's America gonna go from here? And just kind of like pick his brain. Hey Hindenburg, where's Germany gonna go from here? What's gonna happen with this Hitler guy? Is it gonna suck? Yes, but then what's gonna come after that sucking?
Right.
So, I don't know. It's just something that always been running through my mind. And that this is one of the reasons why I was absolutely fascinated to bring up the whole Hindenburg Hitler thing. Because I feel like Hindenburg knew something, he understood something, he could predict something that you and I could not fathom.
Yeah.
But in the process, it was going to result in a lot of people dying unnecessarily.
Yeah.
But here we are in 2023, and Germany has paid off their reparations.
Germany is probably, in my opinion, one of the best European countries to go to right now.
Yeah?
Reputation-wise. They have a great reputation right now. They're doing great.
Yeah. Like, they've got stuff figured out. They've figured out how to make the VW Bug still profitable.
Yeah, that's a feat in itself.
Yeah, and they figured out a lot of engineering. And so yeah, like, Germany is better off today, given their history, a very, very dark time and tumultuous time. And God, yeah, I wish I could go back and be like, hey, Hindenburg, what's going to happen in the next 20 years? Because he would have known this is gonna how it's unfolding, like, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah, no, it's what you brought up was an absolutely fascinating thing. I have never really researched it like what you did.
It was a lot. I felt like I read all of the Game of Thrones books in a matter of 6 hours. And I am sorry for any mistakes I may have made or inaccuracies. I did the best I could.
No.
But
No.
I think I did all right.
You did right. It's one of these things where I'm walking away from this whole topic like, okay, Hindenburg, what did you really know?
Yeah.
What did you really understand what was going to happen, and how did you manipulate things to happen where, yes, millions of people are going to die, but in the outcome or on the back end, millions of people are going to come about it. Oh, that's some good stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah, I know. You put in the time for that one.
I did. Pat myself on the back. Leave it there. What do you have for us coming up?
So, what I'm going to bring up on the next episode here is molasses.
Okay.
Yeah. Have you known anybody who has ever died from molasses?
Only because I know what you're going to bring up. Not personally, but I know of them.
So, like, whenever you sit down and you think about a wall or a tsunami of molasses on a cold January day, you're thinking, like, I can just walk away from this.
You would think.
You would think. And that's the thing. It's just like, I started to study, and I remember hearing about this in a podcast years ago, where in 1919 in Boston, Massachusetts, a tank containing millions of, I don't know, gallons or pounds or however you measure molasses, a tank exploded and it killed like 21 people and injured another 150.
Jeez Louise.
I'm like, guys, it's molasses. Just
run.
You can see it on the horizon.
Run sideways instead of straight.
Or just walk away from it. Like, how can 21 people die from molasses in the middle of January in Massachusetts? But yet somehow it happened. Somehow there was 20 plus people who died from this, and then like a legit another 150 got injured from it. And I'm like, how is this a thing? How does this happen? And so, yeah, like when I dove into this, kind of like the rabbit hole that you dove into with this whole Hindenburg thing, where the politics and the environment and everything was just like, what the crap is going on? It was the same thing with a tank of 3 million pounds of molasses exploding and killing a bunch of people and injuring dozens more. Yeah, like my next episode, the one thing I'm going to be diving into next is the 1919 molasses flood or explosion, or what do you want to call it, in Boston, Massachusetts, that killed a lot of people in a slow, syrupy mess.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we're going to be looking at all sorts of weird things, like the tank not being built properly. We're going to be looking at prohibition. We're going to be looking at alcohol production. We're going to be looking at munitions production. We're going to be looking at painting something brown to conceal leaks.
Nice.
We're going to be looking at molasses under pressure, under a great deal of weight, will turn into a liquid that is thinner than water because, chemistry.
Yeah,
So yeah, we've got all sorts of stuff coming up. We've got engineering and chemistry and physics and
all the science stuff. Bring on the STEM.
Oh God, yeah. We're going to be stemming the crap out of you.
Go. Do it.
That makes sense.
As much sense as it can make.
That's what I've got coming up.
Excellent.
But yeah, no, great stuff, Kara. Like the whole Hindenburg thing, I had no idea it was that
involved.
Awful. Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, it was something.
That's one thing I'm discovering about this podcast is that on the surface, we look at a dumpster fire. It seems pretty straightforward, clean, easy. But then when we dive into it, it's like, oh God, this is way more complicated than I thought.
This is way worse. This is way worse than I expected. Wait a second. Was it supposed to be this bad?
Like, I chose the wrong subject.
It was. Oh man.
But that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of what we do. So yeah, no, we appreciate y'all listening.
Yep.
And yeah.
We'll see you next time. Thanks.
All right, keep it a hot mess.
Bye.
Bye.
My brother is a sunny boy, my sister has a baby. Wie schwer ist Englisch, oi oi oi. I am, you are and maybe. Wozu lern ich den ganzen Quatsch? Warum plag ich mich dann? damit ich einem süßen Englischkerl morgen sagen kann. Ihnen zuliebe hab ich heimlich Englisch gelernt, Ihnen zuliebe aus meinem Sonntagsanzug sind die Flecken entfernt, Ihnen zuliebe, denn ich dacht mir so schön, einmal tanzen zu gehen und dass man dann im grünen bisschen sitzen bliebe, mir zuliebe.